The fear of hospitals. When I was about 8 years old, I experienced my first feelings of being scared of hospital. You see, we came from a typical Asian family. We ate things like pig's trotters and seaweed and chicken's feet. And my mother would regularly steam fish. And I was a typical boy. I didn't chew my food properly. And as you would guess, one day a fishbone got stuck in my throat. And no matter how much I shrieked and shrieked it up, another Asian trait, I couldn't displace it. So my parents said, "You have to go to hospital." Well, I was terrified. I was afraid. I'd never been to hospital. I didn't know what it was about. But I knew that my parents were anxious about going to hospital. And often when they went to hospital and visited their friends, a funeral would soon follow. So I was not going to have any of that. So you can imagine me holding on to furniture, holding on to this, holding on to my brothers and sisters, making myself too big for the door jamb. I was not going to get in that car. So my mother, she changed tact. She took a different approach. She sat me down at the kitchen table on a chair and calmed me down as only mothers can do. And with the torch in one hand and the tools of her trade in the other, and with the skill and delicacy of an ENT surgeon, she pulled that bone right out. Now, I must say I was the kid with the lowest voice in grade 2 after that. If I said to you, you had to go to hospital today, how would you feel? You just discovered that lump. It can't wait. You need to go for some further tests. Or how about that pain? That pain right there. Could be cardiac, could be nothing, could be indigestion. But we need to do further tests. Hospitals are places of healing, but ironically, they can be one of the most stressful and least restful places. And it's the fear of the unknown. It's the fear of the unfamiliar which creates anxiety, particularly in children. Well, almost 40 years on, I have children of my own. And the world's a very different place. For dinner, we have fish fillets. And my kids are technology natives, digital natives. They have computers, laptops, mobile devices, smartphones. They know about Skype, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. But they still do all these other things. They still play sport, and they do things like bowling. Now, bowling's an old favourite, but when your kids tell you they want to go bowling, it actually means they want to have a couple of games of bowling, which is all good and fun, and then they want to play arcade games. And by the way, Dad, you're paying for them, right? You're paying for the tokens. And so they busily go around collecting these little paper tickets. And at the end of the session, when it's time to go home, they line up at the cabinet and they spend a long time trying to choose. And my daughter says, shall I have the princess ring? Or shall I have the bouncy ball? Or maybe I should have those bracelets. And eventually, she chooses a princess ring. And she shows me, "Hey, Dad, look, the princess ring." "Oh, that's nice, dear." And I'm thinking to myself, God, that thing cost 5 cents to make, and I've just paid $15 for it. And for them, it's a world of fun. I drop them home and I go to work. Strangely enough, I work in the place that I was the most scared of as an 8-year-old. Well, things haven't changed much there in the last almost 40 years. Bad things still happen to people. And the death rate's still the same, 1 per person. But most of the time, it's not as serious as that. It's more like this kind of common laceration. And you can imagine it, the kid's gone flying, he's caught his arm on something, and he's cut it. So there he is, with his mum cowering in the cubicle, waiting for the doctor. And here I am, I'm coming along, close the curtain behind me, and the kid cries. I have that effect on people. Because he's scared, isn't he? He's scared, what's going to happen to me? It hurt for this thing to happen, it's going to hurt to get it fixed. I'm in a really unfamiliar place, and who is this guy? And there's no escape because he's just closed the curtain. And I give Mum the options. Well, we could suture it. Suture, the kid hears, and he starts crying even more. Sutures, stitches sound like they hurt. And I say, well, maybe we could try gluing it. Yeah, I like glue. Glue's good. I know about glue. I've grown up with glue all my little short life. I can deal with glue, it doesn't hurt. And so eventually we glue this wound and everything's okay. And I give the kid a peace offering. I kind of look, no hard feelings, buddy. A peace offering. Well, I've got no stickers today because we're out of stickers. So I asked the nurse, can we get the kid an icy pole? Now in hospital, an icy pole is actually balanced therapeutic electrolyte solution frozen in a little stick to resemble an icy pole. So my nurse gives the kid an icy pole, and the kid opens it up and takes one lick. And when was the last time an icy pole was salty? And from that day forth, the kid starts to dislike hospital food. And at the end of the day, I go home with the sounds of the emergency department still buzzing in my ears, back to my children, back home, back to their world of fun. And I'm thinking to myself, we're in a world of fun, and these kids are in a world of fear. How can I bring this world of fun closer to this world of fear so it's not so scary? Well, you guessed it, one day, one of my children becomes a patient. So what happens is it's Cup Day weekend in Melbourne, and they're having a basketball game. And my son Lockie falls heavily on his right wrist. Fortunately for Lockie, his dad's an emergency physician. Unfortunately for Lockie, at halftime, his dad has a little feel, and it's got point tenderness, it's not displaced. It's probably a green stick fracture. He'll be okay. However, doubly unfortunately for Lockie, his dad's the coach and makes him play the second half because we've got no subs. Unfortunately for his dad, he's got a lot of explaining to do when he gets home to mum. So now we're in this unavoidable situation. Lockie needs to go to hospital. Lockie's world of fun is now getting closer to this world of fear, this world of unknown. Okay? And I think to myself, and I have an idea. And the idea is around bringing electronic gaming to the hospital environment to demystify it, to engage my son and patients, to involve hospital staff, to reward them, the patients, for their participation in treatment, and to bring along the community and the businesses which want to support the hospital. And it goes something like this. Imagine Lockie and I get to the hospital, and I pull out my smartphone, and we log on to the hospital app, and Lockie creates an avatar of himself. And the avatar represents his journey in the hospital, his mission to get better, his treatment. And the hospital becomes a maze, a treasure hunt. And the first stop is the X-ray department. And he helps himself to guide himself to the X-ray department. And when he gets there, he gets a reward, points. Points much like those tickets at bowling, electronic points. And then while we're waiting, he pulls up an X-ray game. And that X-ray game tells him about X-rays. It tells him about the machine and who a radiographer is. And he's very familiar now. He's not so scared. He's getting it. And he gets more points during this game. And you get it, right? As he goes along, gets his plaster, gets his treatment, he's now looking forward to getting more and more points. And at the end of his hospital stay, he's got enough points for a reward. And that reward might be an iTunes voucher or tickets to the Melbourne Tigers basketball game or something like that. And he leaves a happy kid. Wouldn't that be awesome? Now, it's not only an app, but it's a systematic way and a new way to transact health in our hospitals. And there are many more examples. Suturing, pathology tests, CT scanning, radiology, radiotherapy, chemotherapy, ECGs, EEGs, EMGs, appendectomies, oophorectomies, salpingo oophorectomies. We're privileged to have some of the best game developers in the world right here in Melbourne. And I've asked them to bring their world of fun into the world of the hospital. And we're on a mission. We're on a mission to improve kids' experience of healthcare. And we've engaged some international content partners. And those international content partners are giving us international characters that your children would recognize. And those characters will be leading kids through the hospital. And we're looking for hospitals that want to do something new, to fix an old problem with a fresh set of eyes. And my wish for you is in the very near future, with the aid of a little bit of technology, that your experience of healthcare will be an interactive, engaging, and less scary experience. Because little kids become big kids, and big kids become adults, and we all become patients. Thank you.